There are over 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. government has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies these as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us as Mack, Juan-Juan, and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that even baffle the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Hey, this is Mack Maloney. We have a very exciting show for you tonight, but let me first introduce, contractually obligated to introduce, the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. How's it going tonight?
13 weeks in a row is it 12?
That's right. Now, that's exciting.
That is exciting.
That's like a defibrillator type exciting.
Right. That's why we have one here on hand.
We do.
Yeah, after last week.
Yeah.
It's mandatory. Anyway, Juan-Juan is here. Also, Commander Cobra on the wing.
Good evening, gentlemen.
There he is in the other in the disclosed location.
Is he on a wing and a prayer?
One of each, maybe. Who knows? I don't think he knows any prayers. But well, wait a minute. I suppose he does, doesn't he? Also, we couldn't let this moment go by, but we have a very special guest here wandering through his huge empire, the building that is the headquarters for his huge empire. Pete Falcone of the Falcone Entertainment conglomerate.
No, actually, I'm doing my my duty by actually witnessing that you guys are here,
yes,
and live,
yes,
and there's no guns or drugs or anything in the studio while you're doing your show.
So
you're 50% right,
and we're not wrecking the equipment.
Right. I have to do this inspection every 90 days. Come in and make sure that everything is copacetic with the show.
Okay.
Hey, Mac?
Yes.
Isn't it nice that Mr. Falcone has the night off from the Illuminati?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the meeting. They must have canceled the meeting.
Yeah, they did. They let us out early today.
That's good. Okay, because it was a nice day.
Yeah.
Do the Illuminati hand signal for us, even though it's radio. Come on, do the Illuminati hand signel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at it. Oh, beautiful.
There you go.
Look at that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got it right there.
Half of those things looked obscene.
He could be running Germany. Oh, my God. Look at him.
Well, Pete, thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
And talk to you soon.
Yeah, my other duty here is to make sure that you get the fridge stocked. So I'm going
that's
over
right.
there
Okay.
next.
Oh, the most important duty of all.
I got to stop there and check the temperature of those bottles.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Pistol Pete.
Always a
Falcone.
pleasure. Take care.
Thank you, Pete. He meant stocking with beer, right? Is that what he said?
I think he did.
Okay, good. All right.
Could have been iced tea. I don't know, but I think he meant beer.
He knows better than to waste that on us.
With a wink and a nod.
Right.
I think he meant the adult beverage.
All right, we're off to a great start.
That's right. It's exciting already, isn't it?
It is, right. And we have to just keep climbing and climbing. So tonight on the show, some interesting guest authors. Paul Bishop, who was named twice the best detective in Los Angeles County. Can you imagine that, Juan-Juan?
No, I can't.
And he has a book called...
Was he a former gumshoe? Is that what he was?
Yeah. Do you know why they call people gumshoes?
No, but it is a fascinating term. Tell me.
Right. Cobra, do you know why they call detectives gumshoes?
I'm not sure.
The first... who were the first detectives? The Pinkertons, right?
Oh, yeah.
The building that they used to own and they would put their recruits up to train on had a tar roof.
Oh.
And when it was warm, it would stick to the bottom of their shoes. I just heard someone say that on the news today. Gumshoes means detective. Anyway, this gumshoe, best gumshoe in L.A. County for 2 years in a row. Paul Bishop, the name of the book is Lie Catchers. I'm fascinated about how people get interrogated and stuff like that.
Right.
And he's like the best detective in L.A. at interrogations, So I told him that we're all guilty of something, and we're going to see if he can figure out.
You can see it in their eyes.
Right. He'll slap us around over the radio. Also, then coming up, Ben Davis is going to talk to us. He's an author who has been looking into the military and their involvement, if any, in alien abductions. He'll be joining us. Is that the
their involvement in alien?
Whether they are helping the aliens abduct people, whether
the
they know
military is
about
helping
it.
alien. Okay.
Who knows? I don't know. Did you read the notes on Ben?
I thought I did.
Yeah,
but
me too. Anyway, well, let's see. Well, then we'll be a surprise for both of us. And also, Rob Beckhusen is going to be calling in to tell us about the largest private air force in the world. The largest private air force. There's a private air force in the world that has dozens, if not hundreds, of planes. How many, without giving their name, how many planes would they have, Cobra? Over 100?
They're in the neighborhood of at least 100 to 200 tactical type aircraft, not mentioning their support aircraft.
Right. This is an air force that is not affiliated with any one country. It's a private air force. Rob's going to be telling us about it tonight. And also, Switcherino will be joining us up there in the Boulder Flakes up in Michigan about a UFO/Bigfoot encounter. One of these things, we've talked about it many times in the show, where a couple of different kind of paranormal things show up at the same time. Mm-hmm. Could be part of what we call the unified field theory of the paranormal. We don't know. But Switch will be on later on talking about that. A couple other things I wanted to mention to you, Juan-Juan. Remember David Roundtree? He is the guy who Melanie Ramsey has been on here a number of times.
Yep. The Stolen Valor guy.
With the Stolen Valley guy, exactly. He was someone who, from all evidence, points to the fact that he actually was in the service for 2 years in Mississippi during the Vietnam War, never left the United States, but he went on to write books and give lectures and be on TV claiming that he went to Vietnam, that he got the Medal of Honor, that he was in these different actions, that he was in this, special forces and stuff like that. Right. Pictures of him wearing uniforms that he just didn't earn the right to wear.
That he got at the Army-Navy store.
That he got at the Army-Navy store, exactly. Well, she's been on, and he's a very dishonorable guy in other ways, too. He got into her personal life. She's one of the nicest people in the world, and she's a veteran of Iraq. And he was just like really vile, some of the stuff.
He's kind of a criminal, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a criminal of the soul, that's for sure, But anyway, so we got a report through the grapevine that he was going to be on a show in Canada this coming Thursday, People of the Future. Talk about this and that. And a bunch of us wrote to the people who own the network, and we said, here's the background, a thumbnail on this guy. You can go on the internet and find out tons more. You might want to reconsider having this guy on. And I got an email today that they bounced him from the show.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, that's good. It's a one little victory.
That is good.
Right. So David Roundtree bounced from
Beauty.
It was cool. It was really a nice email.
And maybe the word will spread from that station too.
Yeah. Well, anyone out there who hears or sees that this guy's going to be at some conference or on some radio show, TV show, let us know, and we're on it.
David Roundtree.
David Roundtree. Stolen. All you have to do is Google Stolen Valor, David Roundtree, and you'll get this whole the 411 on this character. And he's just not a nice guy. I mean, he's done some really nasty things.
You couldn't get creepier than this guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well put. Okay, and finally, before we go to our first commercial break, another mystery down the mystery airport. You know that taco truck that hangs out there?
Yes.
But you've seen it down there, Cobra, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Someone bought a taco down there, and it was 100% beef. How about that?
What?
Yes. Hang on.
I'd like to add that there's been recent UFO cattle abductions.
Down there.
There could be a connection.
100% beef in the taco, Juan-Juan.
Oh, man.
You think the Da Vinci Code is a mystery? Figure that one out.
Who analyzed it?
Absolutely no bull here.
No bones about it.
Oh, no. Remember that report about a year ago that someone took apart a Taco Bell taco that was supposed to be 100% beef,
right?
And it was like 12% beef,
right?
Yeah. This is my little attempt at humor on
Well, there is an allowable byproduct percentage, but it's not 75%.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, anyway, okay. The jokes can only get better. So why don't we take a commercial break now?
I do have byproduct experience too, but I'll tell you that
some
other
time.
time.
Okay, that is definitely another show. Definitely Mac After Dark. Why don't we take a commercial break now? And when we come back, we're going to have the fourth and sadly last drawing for Mack Maloney's Mack Maloney's. Why do I always
Mack Maloney's Wingman Book 18.
Book 18, The Battle for America. Right. We have asked people to write to us with a secret word. We get a bunch of emails in the past week. They're now in the Magic Fishbowl. We're going to have a very special guest pulling, as they say in the biz. This week, fourth and final week of a very successful book giveaway program. So let's take a commercial break now, and when we come back, We'll get to the pulling, as they say. Okay. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Be right back after this.
Over the years, Air Force Major Hawk Hunter and his band of patriotic fighter pilots have fought tirelessly to reunite a fractured America, devastated by a Russian sneak attack. Now, returning from a mysterious space odyssey, Hunter finds a huge Russian army occupying New York City, ready to invade the rest of America. Buzzing through the city's skyscraper canyons in a tiny top-secret ghost plane, and seeing the invaders' massive weaponry for himself, Hawk realizes he's up against the greatest danger his homeland has ever faced. But equally alarming are reports claiming that Hawk's former girlfriend, Dominique, is living with the head of the Russian secret police in a Manhattan penthouse. Is she his prisoner, or is she something else? With the woman and the country he loves in dire peril, Hawk Hunter, the Wingman, will apply all his aviation prowess to launch the most crucial battle for America yet, no matter what the risks. Filled with fast-paced action, a wide range of aircraft and military hardware, Battle for America brings back your favorite characters from earlier books in the Wingman series and delivers a riveting story that reveals new insight on America's most famous hero, the Wingman. That's Wingman 18, The Battle for America. On sale now at Amazon.com and available at your local bookstore.
Hi, I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you are listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exiles Show on Distant Thunder Radio Network.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exiles Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. In the studio with us tonight, Juan-Juan. The very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. How's it going?
13th week in a row.
That's right.
That you've been
Lucky
here.
13.
Very good. Lucky 13. And also in the disclosed location, one studio behind us, through bulletproof glass, Commander Cobra's here.
And 2 locked doors. Good
And
evening,
2 locked doors.
And is it bulletproof so that he won't shoot us, or what?
Ixnay, yes, of course. 2 locked doors. We have one key. He has another key. It's just like the nuclear codes.
Yep.
2 guys
You
have
get to turn them in tandem.
Right. Also, so now, very exciting part of the show. We have now the 4th and final book and giveaway poll, as they call it in the biz. We have the names of some lucky listeners who are nice enough to have emailed us. We have put their names and cities into the magic fishbowl, and we're going to pull 5 of their names, and they will receive a copy, a book, an actual book, Wingman 18, Battle for America. Wingman 18, Battle for America. So very successful so far. So we should go out in a bang, which means that our special guest now, let's see, the first week we had the lovely Lois Lane here doing it.
Oh, she was awesome.
The second week we had the ghost of JFK was here doing it, floating around. Last week we had Mai Tran, the #1 Asian model, cover model.
That's right. She's awesome. And we didn't get beaten up by her bodyguard.
Yeah, right. Yes, right. Exactly. And so now to pull the curtain down,
Who do we have?
guest
Who do we have? Special guest
is our friend from across the street, Gumdrops the Great Dane. There he is. He's here. We met when he tried to attack me 2 weeks ago. Wow, while I was out getting a breath of fresh air.
No way.
Yep. So last week the secret word was gumdrops, and all of the people who wrote into us put gumdrops on.
I don't think he likes
you.
you. He's kind of like a little irritated.
Yeah, he looks irritated.
Do you have a treat for him, Mac?
Yeah, I got a treat for him. All right. Anyway,
Maybe
so
he
what we're
just
going to
needs
do is
some
we're going to somehow we're going to have Gumdrops the Great Dane. Thank you for joining us here, Gum. Can I call you Gum? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Hey, listen, you're
Look, Mac, he likes you.
Yeah. Your owner is pretty hot over there. Do you anything you can report about that?
Where was it hot?
Oh boy. Hang on.
Who's spaded? Who's neutered?
I can tell. They gave you the operation, right, Gumdrops?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did. It hurt. It hurt like a mother.
How bad? Oh boy. Okay.
That's why
But
I'm
you're
so
safe now.
irritated.
Yeah.
They only gave me a local.
Really. Well, look at it this way. You can always lick yourself. A lot of
Right,
things, not many animals
You know
can
the
do
old
that.
dogs, why the dogs lick themselves? Because they can.
Oh, there you go. Hey, this first time ever rim shot for a dog. Okay. Why don't we get to
Okay,
this?
let's get on with it. Let's get on with it.
Okay, please. Gumdrops, pick the first name out, and you can hand it to me.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Very talented
Wow.
with the paw work.
Yeah, the paw work is right.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Why is he
good.
lifting his
I'm pretty
leg?
good
What's
with the
that
paw.
about?
Not here, not in
I'm
the
pretty
studio.
good.
Pistol
I'm
people.
pretty good. I've been
Okay.
trained.
Our first,
I could have been a police dog, but I flunked the academy.
yeah, I kind of believe that for some reason. Gumdrops. Okay, our first winner is Bob Ingalls from Kennesaw, Georgia. Okay, Kennesaw, Georgia. Bob Ingalls. You know how to clap? It sounds more like a chimpanzee to me, but
That's me doing a chimpanzee.
I see. Okay.
I do impressions too.
You know, we'll be the judge of that.
Just because I flunked the academy doesn't mean I can't make a living.
The Magic Fishbowl got hacked again, as you may know, Gumdrop. So,
I heard about that.
yeah, take a chance and
Okay.
take the next one.
All right.
No. You might want to do the one with me. No.
Oh.
Okay, so Gumdrop still needs a few more weeks in training. Oh,
There you go.
interesting.
There you go. Hope it's a good one. He's laughing.
That's Slut Lassie, Brooklyn, New York. See, that's a hack.
That was a hack. Okay, here we go.
No. It's just it's the ones with the, yeah, that's right. Okay. Gumdrops needs a little more training in the bowl, as they say. Okay. Our second real winner, Mike Santoro, Goffstown, New Hampshire. Wow, New Hampshire. Goffstown, New Hampshire. Is that it?
Right in
You?
the backyard.
Really?
I think
Mike
I-
Santoro.
I think I've peed in that backyard.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Very nice yard. There's some yellow spots in there, but so what?
Okay. Go ahead. Gumdrops, pick
Okay.
number 3.
Okay. Here we go. Number 3 from the fishbowl.
Okay, the fishbowl. Okay. Free copy of Wingman 18. Battle for America. I'm sure they'll just sell right out after this.
Big one. No worries.
Bruce Vogel of Floral Park, New York.
Oh, Bruce.
Oh, all right. I don't know where that is. But upstate. Oh, here's Bruce calling us now.
Or is that? Bless you, Gumdrops.
Oh.
Is that Gumdrop's owner? You get
That's it.
permission?
Oh, Gumdrops need a little swig of coffee there. Okay? Gum, if you can pick the next one. He has picked it. I don't know how our fishbowl keeps getting hacked, but it does. We have to have
It does. It's amazing.
Juan-Juan look into that. Okay. Our next winner is Fido McDribbles. Pick me up, New Jersey.
Oh,
Let's see.
I know him.
Once again.
I
another
know
hack.
him. He's my buddy.
Right. Oh, there he is. Okay. Thank you, Gumdrops. Our next real winner is oh, wow, Massachusetts. Peter Morell
Peter.
of Everett, Mass. Everett, Mass. Kind of down the
love
street.
Everett. I love Everett.
You're the only one. Okay. That's close to your hometown there, Cobra.
Yes, it is.
Lovely Everett, where they're building a $1 billion casino. Do you know that, Gumdrops?
Yes.
Can't wait for that to happen.
I can't wait to ride the roulette wheel.
Yes. Okay.
I always play number 9.
Do you really? Because you're a K9?
Well, because I drop a deuce on the number 9, so it works for me.
I see. Okay. A little more dog humor there. Maybe Caesar Milan would laugh at that joke. Okay. Our next winner is...
I can't hear the dog whisper. He whispers too much.
That's true. Rin Tintin's bastard son. Alpo, Minnesota. Another hack. Well.
You know what they say? Nobody knows you're a dog on the internet.
That's right.
Jeez, can you find one in there for me?
Okay, here we go.
My paw's getting stuck in the bowl.
Okay. Nate Buckman of Boynton Beach, Florida.
Nate Buckman, that sounds like a hack too. Nate, you're all right.
There you go. Okay, so I will reread these, and then you can go out and visit as many fire hydrants as you want.
Yeah,
okay.
I got to go, man.
Do you? Okay, hang on. Okay, so our winners, they'll be getting a...
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Copy of Mack Maloney's military... No, why do I keep saying that, Gumdrops? Do you know?
I don't know, man. Where's your head at?
I don't know. Who knows?
Let my master describe what book it is that you're trying to
Okay,
get.
why don't you...
All right. Mack Maloney, Wingman, book number 18, Battle for America, for crying out loud.
Okay.
I mean, you wrote so many books, you just can't keep track of it. You're such a prolific author. You're like...
I guess that's the reason. Whew. So our winners tonight have been Bob Ingalls from Kennesaw, Georgia, Mike Santoro from Goffstown, New Hampshire.
Congrats, Mike. Congrats, Bob.
Nate Buckman from Boynton Beach, Florida.
Nate Buckman.
Way to go, Nate.
Peter Morrell from Everett, Mass. Really close by.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce Vogel.
On the Orange Line, I'm sure.
Yes, somewhere there. Bruce Vogel from Floral Park, New York, which I think is on Long Island. I'm not sure.
Officially, the Orange Line doesn't pass through Everett. It
No,
comes
it
as
doesn't.
close as Medford.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's always correcting me, this guy.
Yeah, no, real Boston talk there, though. You got points for that.
Last time he was on the Orange Line was probably 25 years ago.
There you go. I want to thank everyone who wrote in for the free book giveaway. Really appreciate it. I should know so many people out there are listening in and take the time to email us. So we'll have to have another contest sometime there, Juan-Juan, and do this
I'm
all
looking
over
forward
again.
to it.
Yep, me too.
We'll give away some of your old books.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Then I'd make absolutely nothing. That's
Oh.
a fine idea.
Sorry for that idea.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a... they all can't be winners, Juan-Juan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They-
right.
Okay. You know, sometimes impressions go well, sometimes they don't. You know, Phil Yeba, UFO comedian, is the expert on that, apparently.
That's right, he is.
Dead air.
He's got a lot of practice.
So, but thank you, Gumdrops, for stopping by and, lightening up the show. Okay. Now we'll bring you back to your master and see what happens then. So, why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back with another fascinating guest. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They are even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or someone, or something, looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Hi, I'm Sean Connery, and when I'm in New England, I listen to the Mack Maloney Military X-Files show on Distant Thunder Radio Network, and I get my fashion sense from Juan-Juan.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. In the studio with us tonight, the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. Good show so
He
far.
is
Enjoying it.
13 weeks in a row and
right.
wearing his Patriots hat for you.
You bet.
Those of you following at home. Our previous guest really zapped you on the Tom Brady thing, didn't he?
I know it. He kind of made me feel
inadequate.
Weird.
Okay. Also with us, Commander Cobra in the disclosed location right in back of us, one studio over. Cobra, are you on the wing?
The secure location. Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay. And on the phone with us is Ben Davis, who is an author. His latest book is TI versus AI, Targeted Individuals versus Artificial Intelligence. His previous book was something called It's About Time, Incident at Fort Polk. Two very interesting subjects we're going to talk to him now. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Let's go down to the bar, have a beer, talk about the cop that lives.
What's he trying to do?
He's trying to mock our accents.
Really?
As if we had an accent.
First Southern accent you could ever get.
Yeah, the rest of the country has accents.
He sounds like Jason Aldean or something like that.
Jason
Aldean.
Okay.
Very deep Southern.
Yep. Where are you calling from now?
I'm calling from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh, okay. Oh, Daytona. Yes, that's right. Excellent.
That's a tough place to be calling from.
Yeah. They still let people drive on the beach, drive cars on the beach there?
Oh, yeah, but you got to pay to do it.
Oh, you do? Really? Yeah? I went down to a Labor
$10
Day weekend.
Or if you're a local, you could pay like $30 for the whole year.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. I went down there for a Labor Day weekend when they used to have like the college, blow up before school would start. Mm-hmm. It was unbelievable. It was at the first one we get there and I go, wow, they let you drive on the beach. It was cool.
Regular cars.
Yeah, right. Regular cars. Yeah. The parking lot is the beach. And then
it was part of the track.
Just tons of girls in bikinis and stuff. It was everything you can imagine. It was like a Frankie Avalon movie. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, I've been here since '89, I believe, and I think I've been to the beach 10 times.
Really? Yeah. By sharks?
Yeah, it's a tourist trap to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I can see that.
We can't park anywhere. You have to have a permit, like if you're local. To like if you have an apartment or rental home or something, you got to have a permit to park on your street.
Wow. Oh, that's a little bit too much.
So if you're a visitor, you can't park anywhere. You need to.
Yeah, that's true.
Hitchhike too.
So what got you interested in this? This line of investigation.
Well, it started out when I was in the service, and when I was stationed at Fort Polk. That was the day the Vietnam War ended, March 28th of '75, and it was like there wasn't a war going on, so I had broken my leg in off-duty hours playing what they call combat football.
Okay.
And it was got a guy by the name of Dave Pushard, who was from Maine, by the way. He was a maniac.
Okay. We have one of those with us.
Yeah, and so the guys decided to get me out of the barracks for a while because I've been all, I was not given convalescent leave, which is usually what they do, but they were trying to profile me as make an example out of me because there's a lot of messed up stuff going on at the time.
Okay.
And so these guys decided to grab me and take me on a 4-day pass, which I went with, and it was on Friday the 14th. We passed the state line from Louisiana into Texas on I-20 westbound, and JJ, the African-American fellow next to me, said, "Hey, man, look at there." I said, "Look up where?" I'm looking, and he said, "Oh, right there." Oh, wow. And it wasn't a helicopter. It wasn't an airplane. It was stationary.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably 50, 60,000 or higher feet altitude at the time, guessing, and then all of a sudden it zigzag dropped like a rock, and it was right on top of us.
Wow. Okay.
And then a bright white light come out, and that's the last thing JJ and I saw for about 10 or 12 hours.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so was this day or night that this happened?
This was right at sundown.
Okay, all right. Now, when you say you didn't know, you mean you had 12 hours of missing time or whatever?
More like 10, I think. It was
really?
About 10 hours. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. And what bar did you go to drink at and, pass out? I mean, that's what usually happens when I get missing time.
When we woke up at Wichita, Kansas truck stop, the guys in the front, of course, they didn't have king cabs in the day and era.
Okay.
We rode in the back in a sleeping bag and all. I had a cast on. I couldn't get in front anyway. They shook us. "Hey, man, what the heck's wrong with you guys? We tried to wake you up on the last 2 gas stops."
Wow.
me and JJ looked at each other, and we could hear each other's thoughts without saying a word telepathically.
What was he saying?
Tell him, it was like, wow, we were still coming down off of a trip.
So what happened?
We were.
What happened?
We were taken to the future.
Okay.
And we were shown the year 2026.
Okay. All right.
And the devastation and the horrific alternate timeline, you might want to call it.
All right.
Of what can happen or what won't happen. So it's like, you're offered the blue pill, you can wake up tomorrow and be expendable, or you can take the red pill and you can wake up tomorrow and make history by changing the timeline.
Okay.
And
all right.
To do that, I was shown certain events that were to occur. They all happened. They all came to pass. And for being tossed out of the military instead of honorably,
yes,
I decided to take the red pill and do something about it. And during this, I guess, abduction, you would call it.
Right.
And I'm still up in the air whether or not if it was real or not because of the mind control.
Right.
This is what the new book is all about.
When you went into the future, you didn't go to a racetrack, did you? By any chance?
I wish.
Right.
I mean, Bill Elliott was a motocrosser back in my day in there before the military, and he kicked me off my bike one day, and I followed him into the pits and beat the living crap out of him.
Wow.
Now he went into NASCAR. Said, "Now you know what the true story about Bill Elliott is. He's a competitor."
Right.
At the wrong time.
So I know Cobra has a bunch of questions. I'm going to ask the first one. I'm going to turn it over to him. So what happened at Fort Polk? Okay. What is the incident at Fort Polk?
Okay. From the abduction, me and JJ and three other fellas that weren't with us, they had a similar instance where like an orb showed up and they woke up the next morning, which is about the same time we woke up the next day. So we were separately abducted or taken or whatever. And then we were all together all at once 4 days later and talking about it. And we recorded it on tape, not video, but cassette tape. And we spoke each other's minds on what we thought we saw. And then we all decided that this is a mission that these benevolent ETs wanted us to do physically because they're not physical form. So I took it at the time, and by doing this thing, we would alter the timeline. And I was to write a book in about 50 years' time, which is still 9 years away. And it was supposed to change history and save humanity from extinction. That's what we were pretty much shown.
And this was in the year 2026.
Yep.
How'd you know it was 2026?
Because that's the 50 years from 1976 is 2026.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And that makes sense to me. And I started writing when I was about 50, and there's the indifference about the number 50. It could have been, I was supposed to start writing then, which I did anyway. I've always wanted to become a writer. I started young. I had Legg-Perthes disease, which is like Forrest Gump had to wear them leg braces,
Right. Yep.
And my mother kept me tutored, educated, self-taught, homeschool, if you want to call it. And the Encyclopedia Britannica, all 26 volumes, Webster's Dictionary, every single word.
Wow.
The medical dictionary, every single word before I was 11 years old. So I started very young and educating myself.
My goodness.
So, Ben, if I understand this, you're saying your experience, the ETs knew that the Army was delving into a path with a weapon system and technology.
It was their enemies, the malevolent ETs.
Okay, so that's the part I was trying to bring up because if I remember correctly, when I heard, and I've heard you once before, and the little bit I've read on this one, I was stationed in Louisiana, so there's always been some fun associated with Fort Polk. It's a crazy part of the swamp area that lots of stuff has gone on. There's been a lot of classified missions that have worked out of that part.
That's true. Actually,
with the reservations.
Fort Polk is the largest military facility in the country. It's got two forts. You got North Fort and you got South Fort. It's something like 120,000 square acres or something like that. I forgot what it was, but it was the largest facility. And they even had a bombing range.
Yeah,
about
it does.
4 miles.
Yeah, I think it's the largest of landmass. There's a couple areas that are a little bit larger, like Eglin and a few of the other complexes, but they include offshore ranges. So I think you may be correct on the landmass portion of it. So you have intervention with benevolent ETs trying to thwart the plans.
Right.
Did you ever get any understanding how the contact was made or when the contact was made with the malevolent ETs with the Army and forces? Do you have any understanding of that?
I have no clue. All I know is I didn't even know what Star Trek was at the time. I saw Lost in Space, like in high school or something. It was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the sad thing about it is, I'm deeply connected to Florida politics, family name. My great uncle, my late great uncle, was W. Turner Davis. He was past president of the Florida Senate in 1955, whose father, Charles E. Davis, was president of the Florida Senate in 1915, or maybe it was 14, I forget which. And his brother was the Chief Justice for the Supreme Court of Florida.
Wow. I bet you never got a speeding ticket, did you?
No, I mean, my father was a World War II Navy frogman. That was a secret program.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yep.
And if it hadn't been for the frogman, we would have lost the war to
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Wait a minute. Hold on. Nice. 12:11. 12:11. So listen, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Do you speak at different events? Do you go to events and give lectures and stuff, spreading the word, or?
I've been undiscovered until just this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And last Friday I was on radio show invited by the Sean David Morton, who wrote the Sands of Time trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like astounded that, wow, where have you been? I says, I've been underneath the radar, been hiding from the government. They scared the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm.
They told me they were going to kill me, my whole family, if I ever told them what happened at Fort Polk.
Right.
And since then, I've had several attempts on my life. In fact, they try it every day. It's electronic.
Yep.
It's biological and it's psychological warfare.
Yes. Yes. How long has this been going on? How long?
My entire life.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do you think there's a connection between that and the fact that you were, you have 12 missing hours? We ask this question all the time. When people have interaction with aliens, are they just randomly selected, or do you think the aliens know who they're going after, if you know what I mean?
I think they know who they go after because the military knows who they go after. When I was given my, Selective Service Act letter,
Mm-hmm.
dropped out of college. I was 19 years old because I had gone to college a little bit. And when I dropped out 30 days later, I get the letter. My draft number was 4. I was gone.
Wow. I had 129. I was going crazy. Yes, good.
Yeah,
4.
and Vietnam wasn't over yet. So my brother-in-law suggested, well, why don't you go down to the recruiters, and they got new cash bonus programs coming in. And so I went down there, and they tested me, and I hit 100 on 3 of their tests and 95 on the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of raised the flag at the Pentagon.
Right. Okay.
These are the kind of guys that we need for these special programs.
Right.
At the time, I was just a dumb 18, 19-year-old. And, I didn't want to, there was no job. That's when the economy collapsed with the big oil thing. I remember pumping gas at 19 cents a gallon and it went up to 45.
Yeah, right.
Really?
I remember that too.
Yeah. I mean, I was, it was $301 a month.
Whoa! Wow. Okay.
For an E2, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, Ben, have you still had contact with the benevolent ETs, or did they kind of give you your set of instructions and you've been working from the original template?
Well, they told me pretty much that I would be 50 years in the making, and I would recognize signs,
mm-hmm.
and they have all occurred. In fact,
can you discuss some of those?
Well, one of them was I was supposed to meet a Mexican woman who's supposed to give me a.
Well, hold on.
Child.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
A Mexican, blooded woman, and I was supposed to have been given birth to a female child, and I was to name her Crystal, and all that came to pass. She's also an E6 in the U.S. Air Force.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm a grandpa twice. So I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm just saying it's the end of humanity.
Right. Okay.
If we don't stop what the heck is going on. In fact, what you see every day on television is all a ruse.
Oh, you got that right, baby.
I mean, Trump is just the best front you could ever get.
I am
to
with
keep
you there.
People from finding out the truth.
Are you married now, or have you been married?
Yeah, I'm married. Been married since 2007.
Okay. All right.
And 5 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. And because she works as a dietitian, is in the health.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Care industry, she wanted them off. She didn't want a second opinion. And, you know, the health care, I mean, it's still a major issue about health care. I mean, they keep us broke.
Is she still with us? Is your wife still with us?
Yeah.
Okay,
still
good.
with me.
I'm glad to hear that. So
She
what does
doesn't
she, I just want to ask you, what does she think about this? You know what I mean? I mean, you must have discussed it with her, right? The missing time and so on, and you're writing the
I
book.
think she's scared to death because she thinks I'm to blame for her breast cancer. And here's the other part is I wrote another book. It's called The Pink Mile. It's about Big Pharma and what they do to everybody.
Yes.
Including every drug that you see on ads on television every single day. They're for this or that and the other, you know, antidepressants, and you got the Cialises and the Viagras, and then you got the stomachache stuff. And here's what I determined, because I did the research after I got my degree in creative writing for entertainment.
Yes, all right.
2012. The research part came down to common denominator. You have 3 common drugs.
Yes.
Actually, toxic chemicals. You got cyanide, sodium cyanide, and you have rat poison in the rest of it.
Yes.
And every pill, no matter what you get from any doctor, has those 3.
Has a little bit of that, little touch of each of those 3 things.
The AMA says that to cure something, you got to attack something else.
Right.
And your brain's going to go to that instead of over here.
Oh.
That's nonsense. I mean, it's never, ever, ever been like that before. Let's see, the Rockefellers of the world, took over control of the big farmers.
Right.
That's why they make pot illegal and make all these other, drugs illegal, because supposedly that's the part of the brain that you want to have help with instead of the way around.
Wow, are you in the right place? You know what I saw today? I saw a little bit of what Ben's talking about. It was a list of what drugs cost, at different drugstores. CVS is this, Walmart, pharmacies this. And I wasn't so much interested in the drugs, what they cost, except for one. Everything, most of the stuff is like, high blood pressure. It's going to be $50, okay? It's going to be $40 here. It's going to be, the most expensive of them all was Viagra. It's $300. It's $300 for a 6-pack, and you got to buy a 6-pack. So you got to buy a 6-pack of beer and a 6-pack of Viagra.
Yeah.
But
well, let me give you
that at $300.
Viagra and EpiPens.
Drugs, right? They're all made in India.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Well, of course they are. And you can get the alternative medicines for a lot cheaper. But then you go looking at the ingredients. Now, this is how you do the ingredients. You go to Wikipedia and you look up the drug.
Right.
And then you have to open up like maybe 50 different web browsers that connect to each other. And by the time you come to the common denominator, you still have the arsenic, cyanide, sodium cyanide.
Wow.
So no matter what you get, generic or it's how much you want to pay.
So
you're still paying to poison yourself.
Right.
That's the whole trick about it.
That's awful.
Even if parts per billion, they still add up after years.
Right. Well, everything's a little screwed up these days, What do you do? Is this your full-time job, being an author and a researcher, or do you have a...
It is now.
Okay.
I hit 62, and I pulled out my retirement, and I get $418 a month for the rest of my life.
What did you do? What was your profession before all this?
I was a master paper hanger, painter, vinyl wall covering installer. I've renovated hotels, like I said earlier before the show. And I traveled all over the country. In fact, I've been in all over 48. It took me 35 years to do it.
Right.
And I've done it for 37 years. It's good money. I mean, I make $100,000 a year, and the bottom line is when the work runs out, it's like feast or famine. You know, you got to get it when you can.
Right.
And it'll beat you to death. And I did 145 days in a row since the hurricane last year.
Yep.
And the year before that, I did 271 days in a row. That's 9 months in a row, 10 hours a day. I don't know a professional athlete that can do that.
Right. Hey, you know, we were talking to someone off air a few weeks ago that remember HOP up in Alaska, that electromagnetic thing. The government would send up 55,000 volts of electricity. Was that at Cobra or something like that? 50,000.
I believe you're correct.
It has a lot to do with the chemtrails, and that's in my first book, Incident at Fort Polk.
And then someone said that as soon as they turned that off, they turned it off a few years ago, you started getting these mega hurricanes down, you know, everywhere, you know. All of a sudden, they said for some reason they seemed to think not that it was turned on, but that it was turned off, started causing, and supposedly, you know, Nick Redfern was one of the people who wrote about this. They were testing using climate as a weapon. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
and
you remember
it got out of control, and Karina.
Do you remember Hurricane Andrew back in '92?
Mm-hmm.
That was a Russian guided hurricane.
Wow. Guided
and
hurricanes.
This is what they did tell you. And the mainstream media will never even try to mention this.
No.
Is when it turned south of Miami, my father was helping his brother who had a stroke or something. He was in North Miami.
Yes.
And the neighborhood that I recall visiting as a kid and teenager and all that was they had 30 feet round trees everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They were all gone.
Wow.
That was with 135 mile an hour winds in North Miami.
Right.
When it hit Dade City, Florida, there was 412,000 people that lived in that area.
Right.
Every single apartment complex, every single mobile home, modulated home, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
They were gone.
Right. This is Hurricane Andrew, right? We're talking about
Hurricane Andrew. And let me tell you something that never hit the airways. They claimed 12,000 people died.
12,000.
The military was flown in for something like 10 to 12 days before they allowed anybody down there, including me. I was going to go down and help my dad out. And
right.
It was a blackout.
12,000 sounds a little high.
Body parts and pieces for days.
But 12,000 people, I don't think 12,000 people died.
There was 412,000 people on statistics. They disappeared.
Wow.
No, I'm talking about, you're looking at almost 500,000 people. They disappeared.
Yeah. Wow.
They're gone.
Yikes.
That was
another reason not to live in Florida.
It went from 150 mile an hour winds to over 350 mile an hour winds. And they never, ever broadcast that information.
Right.
They never even warned anybody about it.
Right. Right.
Because the military, it was a test area.
Right.
In fact, they knocked out Turkey Point.
Turkey Point is gone. Right. I remember that. What was the other? There was an air base down there that went out of. What was it?
Homestead.
Homestead Air Force.
Base.
It was huge. And after that hurricane, that was it. I mean, they still fly tankers or something down there. Hey, Ben Davis, thank you for joining us. Tell people where they can get your books.
Created a new bookstore. It's called BenDavisJr.Bookstore.com.
Ben Davis Jr. Bookstore.
And if you want more information that you never hear anywhere, you could go to TargetedIndividualForce.com.
TargetedIndividualForce.com. You're not any relation to Jefferson Davis, are you?
I don't think so.
You never know, though, you know?
Yeah. They took a Confederate memorial down today, and they found a time capsule in it today.
Yeah.
In Orlando.
They found a what?
A time capsule.
A time capsule.
Really? What did it say? We won?
They haven't opened it yet.
Okay. Hey, Ben, thanks for joining us.
Up there, you heard it from me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Come back real soon. Good luck with the book, okay?
Just send me an email anytime you want.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Davis.
Good night, Ben.
Down there in Daytona Beach, baby, one of the coolest places in the world. Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
After the events of 9/11, we thought America would never be the same. Our homeland was attacked, our fellow Americans killed by terrorists. It seemed like all hope was lost. Until a special group of patriots came together and defied the Pentagon and vowed to take revenge, but in their own way. They took the battle to the terrorists' doorstep, turning the tables on the murderers, fighting with no rules, taking no prisoners, until they became terrorists themselves. This is the story of the Superhawks, soldiers so secret even the president didn't know they existed. Their mission was to kill bin Laden, but they wound up saving the world. Superhawks, a new series for Kindles and Nooks by Mack Maloney, available on Amazon.com.
I'm Liam Neeson. You're listening to the Mack Maloney Military X-Files Show on Distant Thunder Radio Network. If you don't listen to him, I have a particular set of skills, and I will find you.
Welcome back, everyone. Mack Maloney's Military X-Files Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. In the studio with us tonight, very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac.
Also in the disclosed location, the studio behind us, Commander Cobra is here.
Fluttering on the wing, as always.
There we go. You know, we haven't...
Is he walking on the wing?
He said fluttering. I don't know. We haven't saluted him yet, so why don't we get that over with, okay?
That's gotten very sloppy and slack over the last week.
So, there you go.
No, obviously, Juan-Juan's been practicing in the mirror.
Well, all right.
You know what? When I'm near Pease at 5 o'clock, they do the...
Explain the Pease. Is it an Air Force
Pease
Base?
Air Force Base. And I'm across the highway at Walmart or something.
And only the cool kids apparently call it the Peas.
The Peas,
whatever the hell that means.
Right, go ahead.
And at 5 o'clock, they play the trumpets.
Taps.
What's
Taps?
Yeah, it's taps.
Yeah. 5 in the morning?
No, 5 in the afternoon.
Oh, 5. Okay, yeah, all right. Yep.
It's taps and then the national anthem.
Yes, okay.
Now, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to stand at attention and salute in place, no matter where you are. You can be walking, and stop and
do it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, this salute the invisible flag that might be.
You saying you do this in Walmart?
Walmart. Face the direction of the giant voice, which Mac brought up a couple of weeks ago.
Big voice. It seems to echo everywhere.
Big voice.
Or if you know where the flag is, you face the flag, and if you see the flag, you face the flag.
Right.
So you're in Walmart, and this is happening?
Do it at sunset.
Yeah.
And do people do it in Walmart?
At 5.
No, I'm the only one that does it.
Oh boy, security.
I'm the only one that does it.
Maybe you're just hearing the taps in your head too.
Oh.
Maybe it's just you.
Is that tap? No, taps is.
Yeah, taps is at night.
It's taps. This is a different tune.
Okay.
We have reveille in the morning, and
Maybe
then you have
taps at a
retreat
little
in the
jazz.
evening, and then taps at night.
Okay, that's what it is. At 5 o'clock, it's retreat.
Retreat. Yes. Yeah. Right. Something I feel like doing right now. Anyway.
Okay. It's just wicked cool because you hear it echoing around, and it's.
You hear it echoing around. You hear
maybe
it.
it's just me. Yeah. Hey, look, my watch is 5 o'clock on the nose.
There you go. Did you miss 12 hours somewhere along the line there?
No, this is a real. Check it out sometime. Okay. Go there in that area at 5 o'clock.
I could just see that scenario and waking up after the 12 hours, and the black guy goes, "What am I doing with all these white guys here? What happened?" We'll put some laughter in there. Rob Beckhusen. Down there in Dallas, the murder capital of the planet, graveyard of beloved residents.
Yes.
Rob, you there?
Hello. How are you? Yes.
Someone chose to burp over my line.
Big heat wave down there, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's
Huge.
pretty bad.
Like what?
Yeah.
120 or something.
No way. Really? Is it really?
Well, in Texas, no. In Arizona.
Arizona it is, yeah.
120?
Probably.
All right. It's a dry heat.
I mean, there was a heat index in Iraq that was like 160. I didn't think that was real.
Hey, Cobra, how hot did it get over there? How hot was it?
I saw it hit 119 one day when I was there.
That's just yikes.
But it would feel hotter than that, I would think.
Yes,
right?
but it's a dry heat, so it's like being in an oven. Yeah, it's fantastic.
But
what really caught me was at 12,000 feet one night over Baghdad, the outside air temperature at 2 o'clock in the morning was 91 degrees.
Oh, man. At night. Midnight at night.
The heat was radiating up that high that it was a block of warm air.
It made you open your window, right, in the cockpit?
You go, hey, listen, but they also have kind of a winter over there, too. It isn't hot all the time, or is it?
Oh, the northern part of Iraq, if you think of Iraq much like California, the northern part, we actually had snow a couple of times.
Wow.
I iced an airplane up in Iraq so bad that I almost wasn't able to climb out of a snowstorm on the Iraqi-Iranian border.
Wow, that would have been a good place to crash land.
Yeah, really hospitable.
They would have
the
taken
only thing
care
that was
of you.
really good about it is that's what the Kurds were, so I would have been taken care of.
Oh, I'm sure you would have.
Yeah.
And Eaten very well too.
Yes.
Yes,
Did he
the
say
Kurdish
beaten?
food is excellent.
Beaten?
Eaten.
Oh, eaten. Okay.
You say eaten?
Yeah.
Eating.
Kurdish food is very good.
Oh, like
Kurdish
what?
food
What is
very
it?
good.
Curds and whey, I
Do
suppose.
they have, yes.
Kurds and
besides that. They have hamburgers, spaghetti.
That's just to get that cleared up. 1-1. That Kurd is spelt with a C. The one we're talking about is the big K.
Don't
Okay?
don't
So
start
it's not
getting.
Kurds and whey. That Kurds and whey does not come from.
Don't
Kurdish
judge him.
Don't get all Wikipedia on me.
There you go. Yeah, right. That's how you find the meaning of everything.
I'll open
You
a
just
can
go
of
to
whip
Wikipedia.
ass on you if you keep it up. And we'll have a big serving of that and some air
Wow.
pie. That was air, not hair.
I was recalling a road sign I saw. It said "Kurds this way."
Really? Waves the other way.
You know.
Okay. I believe that. I get
There's a road sign I want to get for my room.
Do
And
not
it's in the
enter?
UK. It says "Way Out." You know, for exit.
Oh yeah, the way out. Yeah, that'd be very sure.
Oh, way out. I love it. There's a great George Harrison pictures in front of his street where he lives. And
Yes.
in the back, with this enormous brick wall, there's this big sign that says "Way Out."
Way out. Yeah, man. He was way
I
out.
love that picture.
Anyway,
how do we get on that kick?
yeah. I hear there's a heat wave down there.
This happens.
Is that true?
Yes.
Rob? Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone to ground. I'm inside.
Oh, really? Do you have AC and so on?
I'm with my AC. Oh yeah.
AC, right? Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. So we were talking off air, as they say in the biz, yesterday, about this private Air Force. I kind of knew about it, but I wasn't aware how big it was, how extensive it was. But maybe a lot of people out there don't realize that there is this thing is called, it's a private Air Force where they have hundreds of planes, up into the hundreds of planes, and they're a private company. They're called the Drake and Company. Is that how you pronounce that?
Drake and International. Yeah.
Okay. Give us a thumbnail.
Are these contractors or something?
Yes. Yeah. But it's an enormous thing. Give us the thumbnail there, Rob.
Yeah. So they're a new company. They've been around since I believe 2011 or 2012, and it evolved out of a aerial acrobatics company.
Nice.
And it's former former Air Force pilots, highly experienced people have been through the weapons school, Top Gun, and expanded by buying dozens of retiring military aircraft from other countries and building up a private Air Force to be used. Okay, so I should note, I mean, it's a private Air Force, but they're not mercenaries in the sense that, they're flying these aircraft, into war zones for hire. Now, there are companies that do that. Draken's not one of those.
Right. Okay.
What they do is principally aggressor training for the Air Force.
Like Top Gun.
Specifically the Air Force.
Like Top Gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you need a beyond visual range target to simulate, an attack, simulate a missile.
Right.
They will fly, this hand-me-down Czech and Polish and New Zealand, former New Zealand, Air Force planes.
Yes.
And so there's I'm trying to get an exact number, and I believe it's over 80 and aircraft, and they get a lot of attention because they look really cool. They paint them like
they
really
paint them.
evil
That's the
looking.
cool thing. They're all painted the same way and everything. They're really, you can tell they're getting into it. We should just
painted like what, like a circus paint?
No, just kind of like a cool, kind of green camouflage thing. But they all have the same.
They tend to
it's cool.
follow Russian camouflage patterns as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
To give that as much as possible, so that when you would look out, you'd see the same kind of visual appearance that the
Stupid and
primary adversaries would want.
Okay. Listen.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that just so people don't know, if you hadn't seen Top Gun, it's coming out again. They're making a new Top Gun, and Tom Cruise is in it. Yeah, believe it or not. But basically, what it is Top Gun, and then there's an Air Force version of it. Is our pilots go out and they train against aggressive squadrons, people who fly like Russians or Chinese. They fly airplanes that are kind of made to fly like those kind of, and they practice against them. They're the red team, you're the blue team usually, and that's what we're talking about. They do it on the ground, they do it, they do it with troops and so on. But these guys, what they do is they provide the bad guys.
Yeah.
They're like the team, the Harlem Globetrotters. I used to play the American Generals. They're like
the Washington Generals.
Right, the Washington Generals. That's it. They're not meant to win, but now they're down in Florida someplace, Rob. Right?
Yeah, they're based near Tampa. At a little regional airport in Lakeland, I believe is the town. I should note let's talk about some of the airplanes they have, which is interesting. But this is also coming out because the Air Force has been cutting its aggressor squadrons.
Right. Okay.
I believe they still have 2. If I'm right about that, left. Which is a decline. And the Air Force has been getting more expensive to operate. And now that you're also seeing F-35 starting to roll off,
right.
These are expensive. These have to fly, or F-22s, right, which have been around for years now, are expensive to fly. And you don't need a really expensive stealth fighter if you're going to be practicing basic intercept maneuvers, or if you just need a target to aim at. And so Draken has come in and said, okay, well, we can provide this and we can do it for more a better price. And so the aircraft in particular, and this is important. There are A4. They bought most of the A4 Skyhawks that New Zealand had, pretty much their whole Air Force.
See,
again, this is an Air Force that's larger than a lot of actual Air Forces in the world.
That's the one airplane I want to talk about because people, who again might not know, an A4 Skyhawk.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Something was used in the Vietnam War, okay? But it's one of the best planes ever built. Cobra, do you agree with me?
Absolutely.
It's like one of these
top 3.
Yeah, easily. It's a jet. It's a small jet, but it's like this. It's more of an attack craft or whatever. You know.
That's right. It was actually designed to carry a small tactical nuclear device off the aircraft carrier at the height of the Cold War.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That
and
was its
small.
primary mission.
Small, but the guy who, it's a whole other thing. But the guy who invented it, was his name Heinemann or something? He's
That's
like
right.
this
Heinemann Hot Rod is
genius,
the nickname of the scooter.
And they loved it. They loved this airplane. John McCain used to fly one of them. They loved it. And they're getting old now. The fact is this Draken has bought up the whole global supply just about of
That's
vehicles.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of users left of them. I think Argentina still has some, but none of them are airborne anymore. They've all they haven't been able to maintain them. So
I believe the Indonesians made a modification to make a twin engine out of theirs, and that's probably the last one that's still flying.
Wow, that's wild.
And Drakens, yeah. And then also, what's great about the Draken ones is that the Kiwis in New Zealand, they upgraded their A4 Skyhawks with basically the equivalent of an F-16's avionics suite. So the radar is a little smaller than what you get on an F-16, an upgraded one, but you get a similar kind of electronic profile, which is good. And then some of the other aircraft, they've got about 30 MiG-21s.
Yeah.
The company bought from Poland, which would be cool to have 30 MiG-21s sitting around.
And I believe, if I remember correctly on this, they can actually air refuel those as well.
Oh, nice. Wow. Really? Yeah. Do the Russians refuel in the air? They do, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. MiG-21s were used a lot in Vietnam by the North Vietnamese. Go ahead.
Yeah, the big pencil-shaped.
Yeah.
Very. They're actually one of my favorite looking airplanes.
Yeah,
they're weird looking.
They look mean. They look mean from the get-go.
Go.
I was just going to say that particular airplane, it's a greater than Mach 1, Mach 1.5, depending on how it's configured up. That airplane could be made very easily, though. It's an amazing aircraft because the ones I'd seen up close, they used simple things like flat screws and very simple, straightforward, hard technology to make a very fast, very maneuverable fighter.
Yeah. Well, that's their way, for sure.
Yeah. Cobra, was wondering, so they have some Czech trainers. They have Alka, Albatross.
They got the 159, which is the upgraded version. I think it's the Vodochody. It's the 139 upgrade is the 159. So that's a pretty hot aircraft. That's, I think, called Alka, if I remember correctly.
Right. That's the most modern built aircraft. And then there's
the Aeromachis are also pretty nice too. Yeah, the Aeromachi is a beautiful airplane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen those at air shows doing routines. They really are kind of a graceful airplane.
They have a very stable straight wing on them, or it's not as heavily swept, so it gives a lot of maneuverability.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that Druck and a number of these firms, some of which I've actually been under the employ are, they have tapped into a large number of veterans that are available to fly these missions.
Yes.
They are doing it at much lower cost per hour to provide this kind of training. And they are able to do things like train JTACs, Joint Terminal Air Controllers. Those are the folks on the ground that call the airstrike. They can do what they call forward air control airborne from these assets and continue to train those people on the ground or provide it. And then you have the air-to-air work that we talked about, and then you have the close air support. And then they also include the ability to provide transport services as well for moving people around for exercises or setting those parts and pieces up.
Just two questions. This will be to both of you. Number one, do these planes, and as you said, you go on the website and the way they photograph them is very cool, and they want you to get that impression that we're like the first private Air Force ever. I mean, they're into the image of it. Let's say, are they allowed to carry like real ammunition and stuff?
Yes.
They're flying around with cannons full and bombs, real bombs.
They're supposed to be shooting at you, right? Like
they're shooting at you. You're shooting them, but
you're asking the question you asked, Mac. Yes, they are allowed to do that, but it's under very specific rules that you do that. So they're not flying across country with those weapons.
Okay. Yep.
They're at a base or they're at a location. And this is after Draken and a number of these other companies that are out there. And there's probably 3-4 prime ones. Draken by far has now morphed into probably one of the largest.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to your comment about image. That we'll talk about that in 1 second. But you would fly to a base, but the planes have to be inspected, and they have to pass a clearance from the Air Force and DoD that says they're airworthy. That they meet a certain standard. You have to meet a certain FAA standard for a lot of these birds that come from overseas. That means certain kinds of radio upgrades, certain kinds of things that go on with that. And then you have to have a procedural policy that says how you do this. So when you arm them up, normally they don't carry heavy bombs. They're carrying small marking bombs, what we call Blue 32s, that when they hit, they put a large smoke cloud up. And that way the people on the ground can see how close it was to the target that you hit. But it's to give the folks on the ground that are receiving the training, the real world, they're sitting on a ridge line and they're watching these weapons impact or where the guns. Now, the rounds going out generally are inert rounds. They're not going to use explosive rounds, but you can have tracers on there so that you can help you in the aircraft see what you're hitting and help them on the ground see what you're hitting. Because they do it from a distance and all those safety things.
Right.
So it's a good system because you're using skill sets that the taxpayers have already paid for.
Right.
On that image part of it, unfortunately, in my opinion, way too much gets hung up on image. And people want to see the shiny jets. They want to see those really pretty pictures. They want to have that pizzazz factor of it. But there is a certain amount of theater that goes on with this because you're trying to give people on the ground, people in the air, good directed training and a very finite package. So when they walk away, the customer, the United States government, got what they paid for. And when you take an incident like what just occurred over Syria a couple of days ago, where you have a Hornet show up and it meets the Su-22 that just dropped bombs, you want those guys and gals to knock them down and not get a scratch on them.
There you go. So then, go ahead, Juan-Juan, please.
No.
I thought you were. I thought you had a question. Now you
no, I don't.
I'm
processing what happened over Syria and what we're going to do about that bullshit.
I don't even know what that is. Oh, now we have to add it.
Oh, sorry.
I'm glad I threw it to you. Anyway, so it's safe to say that on the on a moment's notice, these people could be shooting real guns and dropping real bombs, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you're trying to drive at.
I'm driving at the proposal for Wingman 19. What do you think I'm driving at?
Well, there are other examples you could point to. I mean, there are other private air forces that are doing that.
But
in various third world conflicts that have been set up much more quietly. And not with a lot of marketing.
Now, let's just say that their jets don't look quite as sexy as
these are the sexy jets. Now, but the thing is
utilitarian.
It's like there's only so many of these aggressive planes that you're going to need, right? It's not really a growing business, is it?
I actually think it is growing. Rob?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that aspect of it. I mean, it's a steady business for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be continued demand for.
Would the United States government allow them to go overseas and be aggressive squadrons for the RAF and stuff like that?
Oh, they already do work all around the world. They do this. They
okay.
do these kinds of missions all over the globe.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I think this is just the beginning of something like this, And
But they're not deployed as like coalition forces.
no, they're just they're basically training who you train against,
Okay.
But that's how stuff starts.
It sounds like a pretty useful.
Yeah, but Mac, I love the sinister aspect that you're trying to bring up here, but we've been doing this since the 70s. I remember Mitsubishi MU2s, which were a very fast turboprop airplane, flying between 20 and 30,000 feet the entire time I was stationed in Germany, for F-15s and F-16s to come up and practice locking up and doing maneuvers on. And all the guys there were all old F-86 and F-100 drivers from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And there were contractors there going up there to fight.
That's all it was. It was all contract. Yeah. And then they brought Lear jets in, and they were flying Lear jets as the target.
Mm-hmm.
And they would fly and do a series of sets of maneuvers, and these guys could practice doing their radar intercepts and their missile lock-ons to it, and they come down and do it. What's gotten interesting is now they're using old military aircraft, and those older military aircraft, their wires are being hooked up again to actually have the ability to drop ordnance and do stuff.
Right. See, that's what I think. So that's like saving an old hot rod. You know what I mean? And giving it something to do in a way,
Well, since I got Rob on the line and you on the line, I found out something very interesting this past week, that the F-16 squadron at Nellis, the aggressor squadron, they used to have an F-15 one. They've disbanded that one. It's gone away. So the F-16 one is doing most of the yeoman work for the aggressor work at Nellis for the fighter weapons school, all that. They have a secondary mission, and their secondary mission is to provide air defense for the southwest sector of the United States.
Wow.
So you could conceivably have an American F-16 dressed up in Russian colors show up on the wing of on an airliner in American airspace to find out why they're doing a violation. Can you imagine that when the
Chapter
cameras
2 opens with.
Well, I could imagine that if things really went south, and a Wingman novel comes true, right?
Yes.
And
nice tie-in, Rob.
Yeah, there you go.
Softly played, very nice.
Yeah, soft applause there. You would have, I could imagine a situation where things really go to, everything. You have to throw everything at an enemy. Yeah. That you would see these private air forces and say, okay, well, let's actually use these. And even. And I'm thinking, think of the private space companies as well, right?
Right.
That the Elon Musk and so forth, who are, say, hey, let's say we need to get a payload into orbit to, let's say a weapon or something like that. Then you can start seeing almost a kind of what is the term? Not piracy, but privateering.
Privateering, yes, right.
So, it's the mark. Yeah, it's the mark. You receive a mark. And it's called a privateer. It was very popular all the way up to about the late 1800s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where you were a pirate, but you were under the employ of some government. Right.
You're a privateer.
Yeah. So you could go.
And what it allows you to do is that when you made this was mainly done in naval circles, your money was you got to take some of the booty of.
Booty.
I had to say it. Of your prize. So you got a percentage of that as you stop the quote-unquote enemy. So.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yeah, you were right. Like England would hire you to go and be in pirate French,
I like that
ships.
outsourcing.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, well, if you need to, shoot a missile into orbit or,
yes,
there have been some novels, I think, that have explored the idea that, you have these super empowered, companies that are taking over space work. That what would happen if World War III broke out? We haven't, what does our industrial base look like compared to during the 1940s?
Wow.
It's very different. What is the role of Walmart in logistics?
Wow. Oh my God.
Trucking and moving things from A to B. During World War II, it was a total war. It was the nation's entire the industrial base of the country transformed into war making.
It's Amazon that's going to be doing it.
Amazon.
It would be Amazon, yeah, and it would be these private space companies, and it would be Walmart that would be assisting the war effort, which is a weird thing. But also these companies are very powerful. And what would the shareholders, when they have their meeting, it's like, do we have to vote on whether we support World War, the government's war effort.
Of course, and they'll have lawyers in there complaining about it. No,
you bring an interesting point up, but you had Ford making vehicles on both sides of the of World War II. They were making Opels, in vehicles for the Germans while they were making.
What are you picking on Ford for?
I'm not picking on them. GM did the same thing. They had World Holdings as well.
It's an indictment of our entire automobile culture.
No, it was an indictment of. This is a kabuki show, and we're all little bit players in it. And there are forces that transcend governments that are on both sides of this.
Hey, money talks. Yeah. The mill where I worked in Maynard made woolen blankets for the Confederates and the Union. Known fact.
Aren't kabukis, isn't that another word for hoe?
Kabukis? No, kabuki is a type of theater in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And what you not pay attention to is the people that are on stage that are dressed all in black that are moving the sets around while the main actors. You're not supposed to pay attention. You're supposed to make believe you don't see that.
I like that.
Oh, yeah, I like that too.
They do that in Portsmouth.
Okay. Where, in the bars?
No,
or
it's such a small venue that...
Oh, I see, okay. They have guys in black moving stuff around?
They're moving stuff to change the sets while everything is still in motion.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Rob, thanks for joining us tonight. Go back to watching Loveline there, Rob. They must be in repeats these days, right?
I don't know why I brought that up, but yeah, I haven't listened. I actually have not listened to that in a while. I brought that up, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, you definitely brought it up with the right people that will never forget it ever.
Thank you, Rob, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Rob Beckhusen with War is Boring, the best military writing
absolutely
on the net. When are they going to do a story about us? Remember they're going to do a story about us?
About who?
About us? Yeah. Right? Rob?
Rob, you still there, or you?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm still here.
He's in shock.
You're putting me on the spot.
Okay. Mac's very good at that. Yeah. That's something you can put in the story.
That's not true.
Mac, the leader of this pack, puts people on the spot.
The sober one, the foundation. All right, Rob, we'll talk to you next week, pal.
Okay. Hey, thanks.
Okay, Rob. Take care.
So you're no longer on the spot.
Let's take a commercial break now. A commercial spot. How's that for a Gazette?
Yeah, commercial spot. Nice transition.
And we will talk to, I think, Steve Reno up there in Battle Creek. We'll see.
Excellent.
You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-File Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. We'll be right back after this.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They're even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone or something looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
You can't handle the truth. Only Commander Cobra can handle the truth.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-File Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney in the studio with us tonight.
Easy for you to say.
Very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac.
You got a Patriots thing on? You got a Patriots hat
Patriots on.
Okay. Last week, which was a strange show.
It was the strangest of shows.
Yeah, we had a fan from Wisconsin walk in on us, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Barbara, for lightening up our entire week, shocking the hell out of us. But you didn't have any Patriots gear on last week. Just a quinky dinky, or
no? I decided to give Tom Brady a break.
There you go. That's nice.
You know,
okay.
I don't get any residuals from the guy either, but I'm always wearing his stuff.
The eternal bromance. Commander Cobra also in the disclosed location, one studio behind us, separated by bulletproof glass and 2 locked doors. Cobra, how
Good
you doing,
evening, gentlemen?
Okay, good. Have you been flying lately, Cobra?
I have.
Really? I mean, in a plane? Oh.
I was flying in aircraft. Yes, go ahead and give yourself your own little drum roll stuff. That's really classic. That's beautiful. I just haven't been flying by your house, but I feel like I need to.
Yes, yeah. I don't know what he means by that, but every once in a while, Cobra will fly.
Could you drop like a bag of flour or something on his deck and see if to prove that you actually did a flyover?
Flour in quotes? Yeah. No, it's him. You can see him gesturing from the cockpit.
Really?
And also,
I'm close enough that he can see me when I go by.
And he circles the house and he lets out the smoke like smoke riders. You know, the neighbors still haven't figured it out. But.
Yeah, and Mack's up there with a make believe gun, and the neighbors get really concerned.
I'm surprised nobody's called the police.
Who said it's make believe? Just looks that way. Hey, listen, on the phone with us tonight, we have a very special guest, someone who has had one of the craziest jobs in my mind. I can't imagine having the job that this guy had. He was a detective for Los Angeles County, the city of Los Angeles, for 37 years. His name is Paul Bishop. His latest book is called Lie Catchers. And he's someone who I got to know when Wingman 18, Battle for America, first came out on sale everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we just had him on the show. So, Paul, thanks for joining us tonight.
Happy to be here.
Now, did I get that right? You were on the LAPD for 38 years?
LAPD for 35 years, 30 years spent working sex crimes.
Wow. And as a detective, brutal. Right? As a detective.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Now,
yeah.
What I don't know what question to ask. I mean, one you said
how do you survive something?
How do you survive
a duration like that
without yourself
going nuts?
Kind of going nuts. Maybe
who said I did?
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe he did go nuts.
You know, it's sex crimes in particular is a calling. It isn't an assignment. You don't stay in sex crimes if you get there and you don't like it. We often argued with homicide detectives about which one of us had the most difficult job, and we always maintained we did because their victims couldn't lie to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. There you go. Excellent.
So, okay, a little dark humor from the police
wait,
files.
Hang on, Paul. There you go. So, but, I mean, is there such thing as a typical case in the sex crime unit, or is each one of them just, strange and awful in its own way?
Each one is individual, but in reality, people in the straight world don't really have a good idea of what goes on. I mean, most of our rapes are not stranger rapes. Most rapes are an identified suspect, somebody who's known to the victim in some way. Mm-hmm. Television would have you believe there are serial rapists running around every corner. They do exist, but they are not the bread and butter cases that we handle on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. What really becomes problematic, though, is the long-term child molest cases, because those are much more difficult and much more time-consuming to investigate, whereas the world in general looks only at sexual assault being rapes. It goes far further than that. We covered everything from indecent exposures to sexual homicide.
Wow.
And everything in between.
And how many cases like this would come across your desk in a typical week? Are you working on one big case, or are you working simultaneously on a number of cases?
Simultaneously on a number of cases. My unit that I ran for the last 15 years before I retired, we had 30 detectives and we covered about 25% of the city. Mm-hmm. So each one of those detectives would be working anywhere from 15 to 20 cases at one time.
Wow, really? Yeah, that's a huge
And that's
workload.
just Los Angeles you're talking about.
That's incredible.
That's just Los Angeles, and that's just my little corner of Los Angeles, my 25%.
That's frightening. It seems like a lot.
You know, it is, but it's a lot lower than a lot of big city departments.
Mm-hmm. Once again, it's hard to say, is there a typical case, but when you go and you investigate a case, a crime, and a sex crime, typically how long does it take you to actually catch the guy? Because as you were saying, a lot of times it's a known person. Can you go in and kind of check it out and within 5 minutes know kind of what happened?
Well, no, you really can't. Basically, if somebody tells you they've been robbed, that means somebody's taken their stuff from them by force or fear. If they said they've been burglarized, somebody's come into their house when they're gone and taken their stuff. Mm-hmm. When somebody says I've been raped, my first question is, okay, tell me about it. Mm-hmm. Because I now have to make some subjective evaluations about the situation that is being reported to me. And very often, in fact, 90% or more of the time, when a report comes to my desk of a sexual assault, the story is going to change between when the report is made and when I or my detectives are finished interviewing the victim a second time.
Right. Can you imagine if guys
there's
like
so
this...
many emotions tied to this type of case, and that's what makes it very difficult.
Can you imagine if guys like this weren't out there stopping this stuff? You know,
so it'd be like Mad Max.
It'd be crazy, right? Yeah. It would be out of control, uncivilized.
Are you suggesting that some of the first reports are not entirely valid, or is because of the hysteria of the victim that the story is kind of not accurate?
Victims sometimes are embarrassed by what's happened. Right. They don't report it entirely. They don't report what they believe to be their culpability in the case because they want to show themselves as victims because they believe they are. And in many, many cases, they are. I just need to know all of it so that I'm prepared when we go to court, not to be blindsided by a defense attorney who's got more information than I do from the suspect.
Right.
So, what we really did was so many of our cases were he said, she said situations. So, there's no actual physical evidence to prove one way or the other. And so we realized that the most important thing in our investigative tool belt was our abilities to interrogate. So we really began to look at each and every interrogation that we did. On Fridays, we'd have what I called a campfire, and everybody would get together in the office, and we would read our cases that were assigned during the week, because inevitably one case read by one detective, another detective would have another part of it and be able to put things together. But then we would go through and we would look at every video of every interrogation that we'd done during the course of the week and critique it harshly. This worked, that didn't work, this worked, that didn't work, let's try this next time. And so when the result of this was that at the end of the year, when statistics are turned in, my unit had a 90% crime clearance rate.
Wow, nice.
The closest unit to us had a 64% crime clearance rate. So we work for a bureaucracy, and what does a bureaucracy do? Do they come and say, wow, you guys are doing a great job, what is it that you're doing that's different? No, they come to us and say, you must be lying, we're going to audit you.
Right, excellent, yeah. Right.
I'm sure the military works the same way.
That's the word.
It's too good to be true.
So they audited us, and they were right. We had lied. We had a 90.4% clearance rate. And they still didn't ask, what's the difference? We knew what the difference was, and it was interrogation. And what we had found is that, you go to the police academy, they teach people how to drive fast, shoot straight, and just enough of the local penal code to get themselves in trouble. I've been all over this country teaching interrogation to cops, and I have never come across a police academy that has a class in communication.
Wow, interesting.
And what is 99% of our job? It's communicating.
I would think
people.
so.
Right.
So we look at what's going on. There's a real crisis in law enforcement at the moment, and it's a communication crisis is a big part of what's happening.
Right.
I feel if I can take a young detective and a young suspect and give them both a phone and they can text the interrogation to each other.
It would be
because they don't want to talk to each other.
Right. Wow, that's interesting when you think about it. I know that's kind of a crazy idea, but would that hold up if something like that happened? Do you have to interrogate someone face to face?
When you interrogate somebody face to face, unfortunately, it's not like you see on television. It's a whole different dynamic. But the problem is, because there's no training in this, cops do interrogations like they see television cops do interrogations.
Yeah, right. That's not good.
So when I'm watching shows like 48 Hours, which are supposedly real cop shows, my wife makes me leave the room because I'm yelling and screaming at the television because they're doing everything wrong.
Right.
My statement is the success or failure of interrogation is determined before the first question is asked.
Oh, okay. By how the person looks, you mean?
Well,
they look shady?
When we do not approach interrogations from a tactical point of view, everything else that we do in law enforcement is approached through tactics. When you're responding to a robbery call, there's tactics involved, so you don't get shot, you don't get killed, people are kept safe. All of those things, those tactics are taught. When it comes to interrogating somebody, 99% of the cops I talk to, I say, what do you do to prepare for an interrogation? Well, we read the crime report, we run the guy's record, and I look at my partner and say, okay, let's go talk to this guy. That's an absolute recipe for disaster because you are not approaching this thing tactically. So by the time I'm done teaching a class, there's 25 to 30 things that a detective needs to do before he even goes in the room to talk to the suspect.
Wow.
And it's those things that determine the success of the interrogation in the long run.
Interesting.
How well are they taught body language and reading the eyes and all that stuff?
That's a big part
the
of
demeanor.
it, the deceptive behaviors. One of the things with interrogations is what is a successful interrogation? Is it coming out of the room with one of those yellow legal pads completely filled out by the suspect with every single thing that he did and all the I's crossed and the T's dotted and his signature at the bottom? If that's how we judge a successful interrogation, we're doing a really lousy job of it because that really doesn't happen. And they certainly, even if they do write it out, they're going to write it in their best light.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But that's a rare occurrence. So a successful interrogation is any time you leave the room with anything that will progress the investigation.
Okay, right.
So
you mean
if
lead
I have
closer to
three
the
guys-
truth?
If I have three guys who we're looking at for a drive-by shooting, and I have each one of them in a separate room, and I go in and I interview each one of them individually, and not one of them cops out, but one shows deceptive behaviors. Is it a successful investigation? Well, sure it is, because now where are we going to put our limited resources? Are we going to put it on the two guys that don't show deceptive behavior? No, we're going to target the guy that showed deceptive behaviors.
He means you, Juan-Juan. You have deceptive behavior.
So now we have a target, a direction for the investigation. And so we have to start looking at those types of things on a regular basis.
Right. Hey, we're talking to Paul Bishop, author of Lie Catchers, which is out, and he was with the LAPD as a detective for 35 years. And I got to ask you this, were you, working any of the O.J. Simpson case? Were you any involvement in that?
Well, the O.J. Simpson case came about while I was on the job, but I did not have any involvement in it other than I knew that everybody involved in the case.
Right.
But
so what happened there? What happened?
Okay, so I use the O.J. Simpson case as the worst example of interrogation in LAPD history.
Interesting.
Basically, the night of the murder, you have O.J. Simpson in an interrogation room in the central jail with a lawyer. He's a civil lawyer who has allowed O.J. to waive his rights. We now have two of the top robbery homicide detectives who are going to go and talk to O.J. And they go in, they spend 15 minutes with him, and I've seen the transcript and I've read it numerous times. Not once do they ask the question, did you do it?
Okay,
so why?
Why
did they do that? Well, a couple of reasons. O.J. Simpson was a huge star when it came to LAPD. USC star, NFL star, movie star. He was at every single police function, Christmas party, golf tournament. He was really well liked. This is O.J. Simpson. And that on top of the fact that these guys didn't prepare for this. They didn't talk about what they were going to do when they went in the room. They just looked at each other and said, let's go talk to O.J.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine if they had gotten a confession at that time?
Mhm.
We never had the 5-ring circus in the media that we had in reality.
Right.
We would have a 3-ring circus, but we wouldn't have had detectives giving up their own DNA to prove they weren't the suspects.
Right. Yes. Right. I mean, and that to me, you know, this is really way off course for this show, but that to me was like one of the beginnings, one of the stumbling blocks of how for why we are the way we are these days. Okay, because all of a sudden, no one believed in the justice system. You know what I mean? No one believed it. No, you knew you could fix it. You know, and he fixed it because he was a celebrity.
And it was like watching a sporting event because it was on TV, it was on the radio.
On for almost a year.
I moved to California at that time, and I tell you what, I had a crush on Marsha Clark, but
really?
I'm not going to go there.
Wonderful.
They were all incompetent fools.
Definitely another show. Did you ever come up, meet her, Paul? Marsha Clark?
Oh, yes, on many occasions.
Really, yeah?
Marsha.
What'd she look like in real life, if you don't mind Juan-Juan asking?
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
She was
I think
very-
that's your answer
really
there.
nice lady.
Okay. So when I was just going to say, so you were saying, that's how not to interrogate someone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do see these, as you say, 48 hours or something like that, they have the camera in the interrogation room. The person comes in, and it seems like you try to get kumbaya with them a little bit. You try to get, on an equal level, and then, when you see them do that, are they just praying that the person is going to kind of break down and let it all out?
Interrogation is a very intimate art. And the first thing you need to do is get that big table in the room out of the way.
Mhm.
You need to be sitting with the suspect. Great interrogators operate in that 0 to 1 foot personal space. That's where I feel comfortable as an interrogator. I'm right up in your grill. You're very uncomfortable with that. But in doing that, I have raised your anxiety level. And raising your anxiety level is what is going to get you to display deceptive behaviors if indeed you are guilty.
Juan-Juan is taking this down, every word, every letter. Thank you. We may need this. Go ahead, please.
But there's even simple questions that you can ask that reveal an awful lot about a suspect.
Okay.
The very first question I might ask somebody is, can you tell me in your own words why you're down here talking with me today?
Okay.
And innocent person will say, well, it's about the stolen money from work.
Mm-hmm.
A guilty person may do one of two things. It might be, well, it's about the missing money. Okay, there's a big difference between stolen money and missing money.
Yeah, yep.
Or if I ask that question, an innocent person gives me that one sentence answer, it's about the stolen money. A guilty person, 5 minutes later, they're still talking to me.
Yes, okay.
Because they're trying to get their nervousness out and their alibi out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that one question alone lets me know whether I'm on the right track or not.
Okay. Keep your answers
So,
short.
Paul, let me jump in with a question.
Sure.
Help our audience that listens. What is the best drama that you've seen that shows interrogation, maybe in like a movie or a television series? I mean, what one shows the best techniques?
Well, I think there was a show called Lie to Me a few years ago.
Yeah,
with,
outstanding show.
That's my wife's favorite.
Wow.
She uses that as a baseline for when she talks.
It was really based on the science of micro expressions.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken Paul Ekman's course. I very firm believer in micro expressions. The problem is that in the real world, we don't have the time to have a camera right on the suspect's face and go through it frame by frame or video second by video second to see those micro expressions.
Right.
Plus, I don't need to. The stuff I'm looking for is big stuff. And it's very clear as we go through and we look for those things, those clusters of things. It's not just any one thing.
Right.
If you see a body language deception, you'll also get a verbal deception. And all of those things kind of come in together.
Mm-hmm.
Say to somebody, can you tell me why you're down here today? Well, it's about the bad thing that happened to Mrs. Jones. Huh? Well, wait a minute. What are you laughing about? There was a bad thing that happened to Mrs. Jones? Yeah, she was raped and her hands were cut off so we couldn't identify her. That's kind of a bad thing. So why are you laughing? Why are you giving me that inappropriate laugh?
Right.
All those little things play into my judgment of where this is going.
Mm-hmm. Criminals, you always hear that, criminals aren't usually too bright. Do you ever run into any bright criminals?
Yeah, I mean, there's as many bright criminals as there are bright people. I mean, it's they're from all walks of life. But I love walking into an interrogation room with a suspect who thinks he's a rocket scientist and thinks I'm nothing but a stupid policeman.
Yeah. Oh man, I could
That
just
completely plays
tell
into
that
everything
personality.
I
That
do.
I'm gonna tell him something. As opposed to him. Yeah. Oh yeah. You must just love it
They're
when you
down
get
there
those
to
guys.
find out what I've got, as opposed to to be there to tell me anything.
Yeah.
But I'm able to work with that as well.
Right.
So, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. It's a very fine art. It's like Tom Brady under center at the first play of the Super Bowl. What's he thinking about?
You're mentioning Juan-Juan's bromance.
What's he thinking about?
Yeah. He's thinking about winning ring number 5, of course.
Well, I believe you're setting up the perfect interrogation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe that's
off balance now.
He's under center, and he's going, wow, this guy's thighs have tightened up over the offseason or whatever, right?
Man.
He's also thinking about the play he called in the huddle. He's going to look at the matchups that are on the defense. Maybe I need to do an audible. What are the next 5 plays?
And in a half a second, he's thinking about.
He's thinking of that. Where's Giselle? What's she wearing today?
Hey, Paul, can you refrain from Tom Brady hands, thighs when we have Juan-Juan on the program? Because it's really going to throw it off of the road.
Mac, did you prep Paul on my Tom Brady fetish?
No way.
I did that on purpose.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? In a couple of minutes we have left. So now you've told us about this incredible career that you've had, and getting the real scumbags off the street, and then, as if that wasn't torture enough, you've turned into an author. So you just like punishment? Is that the angle?
I've been writing professionally for 25 years now. Like Hatchers is my 15th novel. I've written for television and feature films.
Nice.
So I've really had two careers going on at the same time. But with Like Hatchers, what I realized was all the cops that I was talking to and teaching, even experienced guys, didn't know all this stuff about interrogation. So clearly my readers wouldn't, right? And we're always looking for our own niche. Right. And so what I did was I sat down to write Like Hatchers as close to real-world interrogation as I could get within a fictional setting. And it seems to have, it got 2 Best Novel awards and other things, so I seem to have done something right.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
So when you're being interrogated, Juan-Juan, you just give short answers, and you make like you don't really know what's going on, it sounds like.
I've got it down pat. I got one more question for you.
Go ahead.
Given your experience in the sex crime arena, how about your expertise maybe in helping capture some of these terrorists that are running around? Does it translate?
There really isn't much that ties in between those two.
Okay.
I think we have.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
I have a number of task force out there with everybody working together. What we're seeing in Europe, I don't know how you stop that stuff. Because there's no real major ties. These are people that are so loosely tied to the terrorist organizations as to be, a very faint thread, and they seem to be acting on their own and acting out their anger. And I don't know that there's much right now that can be done to stop that. I mean, we always knew that in Los Angeles, it wasn't a matter of if a terrorist action happens, it's when a terrorist action happens.
Right. Yep.
And I just wanted to be off the job by the time it did.
Yeah, well, man. Hey, listen, real quick, mention your Facebook page, how we first get to know each other. I love this.
Yeah, you can find my personal page at Paul Bishop, or Paul Bishop Author is the book page, so you can find both of those. And then my website is paulbishopbooks.com.
Okay, and the pulp book page that you're always on, how we kind of met. I'm into big pulp. I have a large pulp collection of ace double science fictions. I got like about 400 of those.
Those are cool.
Yeah, and I read that. I'm always looking on auctions and on eBay, just looking for old pulp books. I love reading them. I just like the way the style, and you do too, right?
Yeah, I'm more into the pulp westerns and the westerns from the 50s and 60s, and those great men's adventure books, of which Wingman is really a prototype for one segment of those men's adventure stories.
Okay, the ones
really
with a lot
cool
of lesbians in them. That's the segment. Anyway, hey Paul, it's been great talking to you. Thank you very much for helping me kind of behind the scenes with Wingman. Really appreciate it. And
hey, my pleasure.
Is Paul Bishop, Like Hatches, one line, get it, fascinating. And join us again real soon, okay?
Will do.
Paul, thank you very much.
Paul Bishop,
Good night, Paul.
everyone. Thank you. And we're going to take a commercial break now. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
Over the years, Air Force Major Hawk Hunter and his band of patriotic fighter pilots have fought tirelessly to reunite a fractured America, devastated by a Russian sneak attack. Now, returning from a mysterious space odyssey, Hunter finds a huge Russian army occupying New York City, ready to invade the rest of America. Buzzing through the city's skyscraper canyons in a tiny top-secret ghost plane and seeing the invaders' massive weaponry for himself, Hawk realizes he's up against the greatest danger his homeland has ever faced. But equally alarming are reports claiming that Hawk's former girlfriend, Dominique, is living with the head of the Russian secret police in a Manhattan penthouse. Is she his prisoner, or is she something else? With the woman and the country he loves in dire peril, Hawk Hunter, the Wingman, will apply all his aviation prowess to launch the most crucial battle for America yet, no matter what the risks. Filled with fast-paced action, a wide range of aircraft and military hardware, Battle for America brings back your favorite characters from earlier books in the Wingman series and delivers a riveting story that reveals new insight on America's most famous hero, the Wingman. That's Wingman 18, The Battle for America, on sale now at Amazon.com and available at your local bookstore.
Hi, I'm Christopher Walken, and you're listening to the Mack Maloney Military X-Files show on Distant Thunder Radio Network.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. In the studio with us tonight, the very famous Juan-Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. Good show tonight.
Wearing his Patriots hat. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also, one studio behind us, Commander Cobra is here.
Gentlemen.
And online with us, on the phone with us, Switcherino, up there in Battle Creek, Michigan. Switchblade Steve. What's going on up there these days?
Well, not too much, changes in weather and all that. But I'm getting ready to go to the Monster Bash this coming weekend.
Oh, cool! What's that?
Which is that's kind of like a poor man's Comic-Con. The same kind of thing.
Yes.
Celebrities and so forth. Not as big, not as crowded. In Mars,
same kind of costumes.
Oh no, I'm just going as a paranormal investigator, I guess.
Okay.
Well, that's a boring costume.
Levi's. Oh yeah.
You could always wear a T-shirt.
I could.
Yes.
Yes, you
okay,
could.
Okay. Followed by a dead silence.
Yeah, do some shameless promotion at least.
Please.
What, you mean I have to give up my Tony the Tiger T-shirt? Oh, I guess I can do that.
Give him the drum roll on that one. That was beautiful.
So where is it? Where is it being held?
At Mars, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Oh, how appropriate. How cute. Mars.
Yeah.
And how far away is that from you?
Oh, it's about 4 or 5 hours.
Okay.
We several of us converge on a friend's house in Mercer, Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and stay there Thursday night, and then because it's all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people like you guys remember Larry Storch, right?
Oh yeah, sure. F Troop, funniest guy.
He's
going to
be there.
Wow, cool.
Remember the cheesy Irwin Allen show, Land of the Giants?
Oh yeah, okay. Very cool.
Well, Gary Conway, the guy that was kind of the captain of the ship, he's going to be there.
Yeah, okay.
Mighty Joe Young.
The movie?
The original Mighty Joe Young, yep.
The movie, you mean the movie back in the 40s, that one?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The young lady that was in it, who's not quite as young now, Terry Moore will be there as well.
Excellent.
So there'll be quite a few people.
Yep. I think Mighty Joe Young, I think they just used the same puppet they used in King Kong. They just made him smaller, and I think they lightened up his fur a little bit. One. So what happens? So you go and there's the celebrities there, and you go in, and is it... Do they have the autograph tables and that kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, they have autograph tables. They interview the celebrities, and you get to ask questions. There's a guy there that does a really excellent montage of all their work. You get clips of things they've done.
Right.
They have all kinds of stuff going on there. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
And again, it's not as jam packed. I've heard some horror stories about Comic-Con about standing in lines, and usually the autographs are not quite as expensive
right
here.
They autograph their old picture of when they were big stars, right? Is what they do?
Yeah.
publicity shots of them when they're in TV.
You know, I got to just interject this. I saw it wasn't on the news, it was somewhere else because I don't watch the news anymore, and the city of Los Angeles honored Adam West after he passed away, Adam West, the Batman. Yep. They held this huge kind of rally / press conference out on the steps of the courthouse with the mayor and the chief of police there, all right, with the red phone. Did you see it? Yeah. They had the red phone with the light on it, and then they
shined the beacon.
They shined the beacon on the
That's the bat. Yeah, they put the bat signal on.
Yeah, put the bat signal on. Yeah, it was really cool. Anyone who remembers that show was like crazy, man. But you look at it now, it's funny as hell.
Did you look at on the Batman TV show the list of people who participated in that show?
It's big and big stars too.
Yeah.
You know,
big stars.
It was the It show to be in. It was the It show.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, Steve. So what's the name of this again? The Monster Mash?
They call it the Monster Bash. I guess they've been doing this for about 20 years.
Right. Okay. All right. Yep. I love stuff like that. I love all those. Was it Erman Allen? He was the guy, right?
Yeah.
Voyage to the bottom of the sea and
time tunnel, and they would use the same cheesy alien costumes passed back and forth each
over and over and over. You know, and then Lost in Space. He did Lost in Space too. And, and they would take the Xerox machine, put it on the set, put stuff on it, and they believe it's an alien robot or something like that. That's how low the budget was. And this guy was like notoriously cheap, but
he was worse than Ed Wood then.
Ed Wood. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Ed Wood did that stuff, didn't he?
Yeah,
Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah. He didn't have the budget. This guy is fabulously fucking wealthy because he was using Xerox machines for aliens.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody in the room got it. Thanks.
Do you want to repeat it? I didn't hear it.
Tell him.
We were talking Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I said his most famous movie, Plan 9 from Outer Space, but it's not. What gave him his big break was Glenn or Glenda.
Right.
And she did not know which laboratory to use, apparently.
That's a reluctant.
Oh, you had to go there. God, you just right at the bullet.
Steve always has to go.
Are you saying the director was a?
Yes, he was.
known
pieces of both sides. Really? Oh,
oh my God! If you haven't seen the movie that Johnny Depp did about him, that is one of the best movies about the craziness of B Hollywood ever.
Yeah. I'll bet. I'll bet.
Oh my God, is it good?
Yeah.
And they say that the run-in with Orson Welles is true, that he actually did have the run-in with Orson Welles.
I'm sure. Orson Welles, he's the only guy in Hollywood who started at the very top and worked his way all the way down to the bottom. Again, wine commercials at the end. Hey, listen, so, Steve, you were telling us about, off air, these things that seem to happen up in Washington State. Is Washington State like the biggest state for paranormal activity? Are people reporting it or anything?
No, I think there's a lot of, we've talked a lot about hotspots on the show, and it just turns out there's another one of these hotspots. It's kind of a big Bigfoot area, but we're going to start with, you go back to April 1st, 1959, near Orting, that's O-R-T-I-N-G, Washington, and there was some kind of a crash or collision. A C-118 had, there were 4 men on board. They took off from McCord Air Force Base, Tacoma, Washington, and a call went out, Mayday, Mayday, we hit something. And that was it. The plane came down, 4 men were dead on the side of a mountain, somewhere between Summer and Orting. There were no survivors, like I say. The crash was immediately cordoned off by the Air Force. APRO came in. Got involved. That was APRO, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, long defunct, unfortunately, but one of the really primary UFO organizations at the time. They located several witnesses that saw this plane, and they said that they saw 2 orange-yellow objects which seemed to be in pursuit of the plane. Now, of course, the Air Force brushed it off. They said, there's nothing to see here. They're just parachute flares.
Right. What year was this?
This is 1959.
Okay, yep.
Now, flash forward. We're going to go ahead to about 1973, 1974. A lady named Sally Shepard Wolford, she and her family, she and her husband John and her three daughters moved to the same general area. Okay. And they're right on I think that's pronounced the Carbon River, C-A-R-B-O-N. They live in a small, very small cabin. There's not too many people that live in this area, and she has a neighbor named Yodi, a Native American woman.
Yodi.
Well, there's a lot of really strange stuff going on here. But before I get to that, the other thing I'll get to later is that Sally and John had a very famous daughter.
Yes.
Autumn Williams, who is known as one of the primary Bigfoot researchers in these days.
Sorry, it just sounds like a stripper's name. I'm sorry.
I'm sure Autumn will appreciate
Juan-Juan,
that.
stop saying that, imitating my voice.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for the lovely and talented Autumn.
Yes.
And she is quite lovely and talented. I've seen her on. She's been on several reality shows and very serious about her research. But what they had moved to a small cabin, and Sally had read an old book by Frank Edwards. Now, I'm not sure which one it was. I tried to track it down, but she and her friend Yodi read about this particular crash or collision or whatever it was, and it's right in their area. So they decided to go to the local paper there to see if they could find anything in the archives. And they found there were some people had purchased the newspaper not too, maybe just a few years before. They said, well, things aren't too organized, but feel free to go through all the papers. And they did. And they organized. They had have some that went back to the late 1800s. So they organized these papers. It must have been a weekly or something like that. It wasn't a daily paper. And sure enough, I mean, you probably guessed it, April 1st, there's no newspaper. It's gone. And several newspapers after that, several days after that, there are no issues.
Wow.
So somebody had come in, apparently, and just gotten rid of the evidence there.
Wow. That's a little creepy.
It is a little weird.
Is there something about, I'll ask the same question again. Is there something about Washington State that makes it like a different kind of hot zone, like down in St. Louis Valley in Colorado? They see like certain numbers of things, you know what I mean, including flying people.
Maybe it's the number of Starbucks.
Well, there was a gentleman named Paul, was a Bigfoot researcher that it turned out there was a meteor hit in the early 50s. And Washington, the University of Washington checked it out. It was made primarily of iron. And one of this guy felt that he talked about several high strangeness areas like the east coast of Florida, where there's a lot of near the Bermuda Triangle, and Pennsylvania, and I think he's talking about the spot that Stan Gordon has covered. There's there's different types of terrain, and the large iron content seems to be one of the factors.
Really? I mean, iron in the ground and the terrain and so on.
Right. Well, just also limestone and so forth. A lot of people think hauntings occur in there and then in that area.
Really? I've never heard that.
They had. Go ahead.
I never heard that, but I can almost see it in a way. If there's a lot of limestones around, you see a lot of ghosts.
There are a lot of theories about the geography of the area being conducive to this kind of thing.
Right. Wow.
But so what they had done is they had this small cabin. They had originally they just had a stove where they had to actually gather wood to fuel it. Well, Sally and her daughter Autumn, when she was only about 3, they went out gathering wood, and she, it's a misty morning. They're in the woods, and she sees this 7-foot Bigfoot creature. Days before this, they'd heard things moving around in the woods, something very large and powerful. And she even saw like hair caught up in the tree, like several feet up, that couldn't have been a conventional animal.
Wow. Well, that's, people see Bigfoot a lot up there, it seems,
Well, they saw quite a few sightings of Bigfoot. Autumn, when she was a little girl, she didn't really think much of it. She just thought, because they looked kind of human, she just thought they were like friends of her father.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's funny.
Big and hairy.
Wow. I gotta just ask you one question on the whole Bigfoot thing, and I'm sure a lot of people have asked the same question. I mean, doesn't it seem like I mean, I've seen documentaries where it's like, how can it not be something what people think of as this huge creature? Finding tracks like 5 miles, 2 or 3 hour trek into the woods, and there's tracks there. What hoaxer would do that? But why don't they find their bodies? Why don't they find their, you find deer carcasses, you find,
waste material.
Yeah. Why none of that?
Okay. Then perhaps we should continue this, maybe have a cliffhanger, because there's a lot of really bizarre elements that happen during these occurrences. And you talk about why they don't see them. Well, they actually, Yodi's daughter, Emily, actually saw one of these things just simply vanish. Sally's husband, John, who'd been a real skeptic, they'd had a flood, and he saw one of these things across the bank, but he still was in denial until one night they had all this bizarre activity, them and the neighbors. He actually saw footprints appearing in the dirt, in the pathway to the houses, but he didn't actually see anything. There was no body there.
Oh, that is not, that's chilling.
So,
we mean the footprints were being made,
but
but
just there, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you're indicating there may be a paranormal angle to this, as opposed to some.
Well, definitely, because we're actually going to get into the Men in Black when we get to the part 2 of this.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us, as always.
My pleasure.
We will see you, listen to you, hear you next week.
And maybe I can give a little update also on the fun I had at the Monster Bash as well.
Yes. Okay. We'll send you a check if you Juan-Juan will send you
us
a
a
generous
postcard
check
from Mars.
if you want to wear the T-shirt.
Will do.
If you wear the T-shirt, you'll get a 3-figure check in the mail from Juan-Juan.
Oh, excellent.
From his account.
Thanks.
His Bermuda account.
From Juan-Juan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my Tom Brady account.
Oh, man. We had to bring him into it. Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Steve, you're a good
Next
man.
week.
Talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Guess what, guys? It's the end of the show.
No way.
Doesn't it seem like we've been here 12 hours?
No, it's actually time flies when we're having so much fun. No, it seems like half an hour.
Okay.
I don't know where you've been, but
maybe the aliens,
You lost some time there.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks to everyone who joined us tonight. Ben Davis down there in Florida, fighting the good fight against just about everybody on the planet. Our good friend Paul Bishop. Hopefully he's our friend now. He's the best detective in Los Angeles. Talking about interrogation techniques. I think we should all
That's pretty good.
memorize
he
them.
He gives classes on
and
that.
I think
that's what he does. He gives classes on it, right?
Yeah. And for him to call in some night and talk about the interrogation of Lee Harvey Oswald and what this guy did, and it really leads you to believe that he was a trained spy, the stuff that he was doing. Anyway, that would be a cool segment. And, of course, Rob Beckhusen and Switcherino, thanks for joining us. Lois Lane, thank you for joining us. Gumdrops the dog. You might wind up on the cutting room floor. We don't know. Commander Cobra, thank you as well.
Always a pleasure.
Commander is always awesome.
Yeah. Sounds like we just woke him up in there. We can see his boots. Yeah, it looks like he's in a reclining position. Is that right? You see better than me.
Nope.
I'm just trying to keep the G-forces down.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's like,
thank you,
he's
Commander.
on watch.
Thank you, everyone, listening to us tonight, and we'll be here next week. Until then, this is Mack Maloney for the gang saying, be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.
You're listening to Love Advice.